A blissful afternoon and welcome everyone. We are now at the afternoon session of the Science Club Month Celebration 2021, the Youth Environmental Forum. Hashtag Youth for Environment, Unlocking Advocacies for Biodiversity. We are live again at our Agham Alam Hub YouTube channel. And before we proceed to the introduction of our next research speaker, in line with the Science Club Month celebration, please comment your name, grade, and section in our comment box for us to identify the people with us today. Again, please comment your name, grade, and section in the comment box for us to identify the people with us today. To introduce our research speaker for this afternoon, let's have Miss Alethea S. Cabuyo for the citation.
Good afternoon, everyone. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce our third speaker for today, who will speak to us about the localized bird in Banahaw, particularly in Mount Banahaw de Tayabas. This topic in which we should always be deeply interested to unlock advocacies for biodiversity in Mount Banahaw. Our research speaker is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Fishery at Southern Luzon State University, a Bachelor of Science in Education at Manuel S. Enverga University Foundation. He is the Tayabas City Environment and Natural Resource Officer, a birder, a DOT-trained bird and tour guide, a mountaineer, a caver, and a founder of the Tayabas Caving and Outdoor Club. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our research speaker, Mr. Melvin C. Rada.
Yes, magandang hapon po. Naririnig po ako?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sige, una sa lahat, gusto kong bumati ng magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Ay doon sa aking mga kasama sa SLSU, kay Ma'am Kat, kay Ma'am Ami, kay Ma'am Juliet, kay Sir Wendell at sa lahat po ng Tagaluis Palad at lahat ng mga kabataan natin ngayon. Ako po ay masaya dahil naging bahagi ako nitong gagawin natin. At congratulations po sa pag-host ng ganitong event. Tunay na hirap ang sitwasyon ngayon pero pinipilit pa rin nating matuto. Sige, bago ko magsimula, gusto ko lang sabihin ako po ay hindi expert sa bird, hindi po ako ornithologist. Mahal na mahal ko lang ang biodiversity at napamahal ako sa mga ibon ng Mount Banahaw kasi palagi akong nasa bundok. No, bahagi ng trabaho namin, tsaka maliit pa ako, mahilig ako mag-birding kaming family. Sige po, simulan na natin. Yung slide po, paki-present. Sir Wendell?
Sige, sir. Wait lang po. Hello sir, nakikita niyo na po?
Yes po. Good to go na po tayo? Okay na?
Sige po sir, hello po.
Sige, again, magandang hapon po. Sige po, ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon ay tungkol sa mga birds na makikita sa Banahaw. So yung present ko sa inyo, ito yung mga actual kong nakita, narinig, at sa ginagawa naming biomonitoring na i-discuss natin mamaya. Sige, next slide po. Sige po, ito yung outline of my presentation. Una, yung brief background lang sa Banahaw and biodiversity, although binigay na ito kanina. Introduction to birds. Next is the birds of Mount Banahaw de Tayabas. The importance of birds and youth for biodiversity. Next, please. Click, please. Sige, yung Mount Banahaw, tinatawag natin na Philippine Second Mountain in the Southern Tagalog's Biodiversity Center. So isa na lang siya natitira sa mga intact primary forest dito sa Luzon. So kasama dito yung Mount Banahaw. So napakataas nung biodiversity natin dito at yung endemism napakataas din. Next slide. Na-discuss na rin kanina ni Ma'am Ami, yung importance ng Mount Banahaw is yung siya ay corridor of life or ecotone. So isa siyang active volcano or they call it Vulcan de Agua kasi marami tayong tubig dito, maraming waterfalls, maraming umaasa dito mga farmers at dito rin tayo kumukuha ng mga inumin natin. At siyang power mountain. So marami ang namamanata at naniniwala sa healing power ng Mount Banahaw. Next. So ito ay under ng Republic Act 9847. So isa siyang protected area, category ng protected landscape. So na-act siya noong December 11, 2009. Yung bundok natin may sarili siyang batas. Natatandaan ko pa noon, kasama pa natin yung mga tapat kalikasan, yung mga people's organization natin, mga irrigators association, nilabihan sa Congress, dala-dala yung mga pictures ng Mount Banahaw, yung caricature ng Mount Banahaw, at iba-ibang picture ng wildlife para pinupush natin sana magkaroon ng sariling batas ng Mount Banahaw. So ngayon meron na siya, yan yung RA 9847. Next please. So ang nakakasakop sa Mount Banahaw ay 3 probinsya. So pakiclick lang po, nandiyan yung Quezon side at saka Laguna side. So yung blue siya yung Quezon, yung yellow is from Laguna. Pakiclick lang po para makita natin yung mga bayan. So malawak yung sakop niya, yung Lukban sa Quezon. So under siya ng SLSU. Sila yung nagmamanage. Ito yung sa atin sa Tayabas, Sariaya, Candelaria, Dolores. So malaki ang sakop ng Quezon sa pagdating sa protected area ng Mount Banahaw. Next. So maraming stakeholders dito sa Mount Banahaw. So nandyan tayo sa academe, nandyan yung mga farmers, nandyan yung mga religious group, mga scientists, mga NGO, mga turista, at saka yung LGU. So lahat yan mga stakeholders ng Banahaw. At sila yung may mga pakialam pagdating doon sa management ng Banahaw. Next please. So yung Mount Banahaw, meron siyang sariling Protected Area Management Board at meron siyang Protected Area Management Plan. So lahat ng tungkol sa Mount Banahaw, protected area, ang nagmamanage yan ay Protected Area Management Board. So ang member niyan, yung mga LGU na nasa laylayan ng Banahaw. Dito sa atin, member ako ng PAMBI, yung barangay captains o representative ng barangay Kamaysa, Dapdap, Alitao, Lalo at Ilayang Bukal, member sila ng PAMBI. So pag member ka ng PAMBI, kasama ka sa pagpaplano, kasama ka sa pagdesisyon, at pagkasama ka sa pag-implement ng plano. So quarterly nagmi-meeting yung PAMBI at doon pinag-uusapan paano ba natin siya i-manage ng maayos. Next please. So in short, balik tayo sa biodiversity. Alam na natin ito. Biodiversity is equal to food security. Biodiversity is equal to jobs. So okay, biodiversity is equal to health economy. And biodiversity is equal to cultural diversity. And biodiversity secures our future. Okay? Kung walang biodiversity, wala tayong pagkain, wala tayong mga sinusuot ngayon, hindi tayo mabubuhay kung walang biodiversity. So ganun na lang kahalaga yung biodiversity sa atin na dapat ingatan natin. Next please. At nakakalungkot, yung extent ng forest cover natin, year 1900s, simula 300,000 square kilometer, ngayon, kakunti na, 8,000 square kilometer na lang. Kasi nga, dumadami yung tao, dumadami yung nangangailangan ng resources, utay-utay siyang nauubos. At pag hindi pa natin siya na-manage ng maganda, mauubos siya at maapektuhan lahat ng ating biodiversity. Di ba? Sabi nga ni Ma'am Juliet, ang lahat ng bagay ay magkakaugnay. Next, please. Dito, pinapakita lang yung green nung una, talagang yung forest cover natin makapal pa. Ngayon, kakaunti na hindi pa naman siguro huling lahat na kailangan natin ayusin siya at magiging bahagi tayo noon. Next, please. Sige po, pakiclick po ulit. Yan. Ang liit lang ng Pilipinas. Ito yung mga mega diverse countries. Kasama tayo doon, di ba? Ang liit lang ng Pilipinas, pero tayo yung pinaka-diverse sa lahat. Next. Yan, ang liit lang natin kumpara sa ibang bansa. Kaya lang, diverse tayo, pero tayo hotspot. Madaling nauubos yung biodiversity natin sa maraming dahilan. Kasi nauubos yung forest cover natin na yung habitat nila. Next. Yan. So may mga dahilan kung bakit naubos, nagawa rin nating mga tao. Next please. Yan, pagdating sa birds naman, gustong-gusto ito ng mga hunters. Yung iba pinagbebenta, yung iba tinitrade nila, yung iba kinakatay nila. So yan, nakakalungkot kahit meron tayong Republic Act 9147 o yung Wildlife Resources and Protection Act, meron pa rin mga gumagawa ng mga hindi magandang bagay. Pero kailangan natin talagang ipatupad yung batas na yan. Next please. Okay, ang Pilipinas ay isa sa bird watching destinations. Mamaya makikita natin over 600 bird species, 48% doon sa Pilipinas lang natin makikita. Kaya yung mga foreigner, dumadayo pa nito sa atin. Kahit yung mga taga Visayas, taga Mindanao, pag may mga sightings na endemic sa Luzon, pumupunta sila dito, nagbabayad sila ng mahal sa mga bird guide, nagbabayad sa mga tour para makita at mapicturean lang yung ibon. So, biodiversity is job. Next, please. Yan, baka hindi nyo napapansin. Pansinin nyo naman yung pera natin. Yung sa 500 natin. Yan, meron tayong blue-naped parrot. Endemic yan sa Pilipinas. Nilagay yan sa pera para makita natin at matandaan natin at ipagmalaki natin kasi sa Pilipinas lang siya makikita. So, dukutin nyo na yung mga pera nyo. Tignan nyo yung mga pera. Nandiyan na yung biodiversity natin. Kailangan natin i-explore. Next, please. Okay, pasok tayo sa birds. Okay, birds na tayo. Next, please. Magandang malaman nyo rin yung parts ng birds kasi minsan yung pagpapangalan ng birds ay batay doon sa mga parts nila. Okay? Yung nape, yung crown, yung breast, yung thigh, yung vent, okay? Yung back, so yung nape, yung tail. So mamaya makikita natin bakit mahalaga yung mga parts ng ibon. Sige, next please. Ganun din, iba-ibang canopy, iba-ibang family of birds ang makikita natin. Okay? Sa ground canopy, nandyan yung mga shorebirds, mga water birds. Next is the understory, nandyan yung mga bluebirds, mga family ng doves nandyan. Sa mid-story, yan, narito yung mga warblers. Mamaya may mga pictures tayo. At sa canopy, yan, nandyan ang mga owls, woodpeckers, thrushes, nuthatches. Mamaya makikita natin. And doon sa above canopy, nandyan yung ating mga meat eaters usually, mga hawks, yung mga yung mga eagles, so sa above canopy sila. So sa pag-identify ng ibon, minsan malaking bagay kung saan mo siya nakitang location. Ano po? Yan. So mamaya meron tayong may mga pictures naman tayo. Next please. Yung mga birds din, makikilala natin sila sa tuka. Kasi may mga family sila at may iba-ibang function yung beak nila kung saan nila ginagamit. Okay? Next please. Next slide po. Yan. Okay? So doon din sa paa, makikita mo kung siya ay water birds, siya ay land birds. Yung sa paa niya, ginagamit niya ba pang swimming, paglalakad, pang perch, pang huli ng mga prey o pang akyat. Doon sa mga beak niya, malalaman mo din kung siya ba ay pangbutas. Kung pangbutas yung beak niya, so family siya ng woodpecker. Okay? Pagka pang-tier ng meat, siya ay family ng mga raptors. Okay? Pagka pang-filtering, yan, katulad sa Philippine duck, so ginagamit siya as mga water bird sila. At alam mo rin, pag ang beak niya ay ganito, isa siyang kumakain ng insect. O yung iba naman ay mga flower peckers. Next please. Sige, birds and more birds. Next please. Yan. Birds are found everywhere. Kahit saan ka pumunta sa buong mundo, may ibon. At ako, nung bata pa, talagang ako ay namanghana ako sa mga ibon. Sige, next please. Okay. Next po. Saan ba nakatira ang mga ibon? So, iba-ibang habitat. So, kung makikita nyo dito sa graph, ang pinakamalaki yung lowland forest. Yan. So, mas marami ang birds na makikita dito. Iba yung makikita mong ibon sa mountain forest, sa higher elevation. Iba yung sa mangrove, kalimitan sa mangrove, ito yung mga water birds, lalo na sa freshwater, sa coastal, iba yung sa agriculture. So, iba-iba ng diet, iba-iba sila ng habitat. Nakakalungkot lang, yung kanilang mga habitat ay nasisira na rin ngayon. So, mahalagang malaman natin kung saan mo nakita yung ibon kasi iba yung ibon sa baba, iba yung ibon sa taas. Next, please. Where do birds live? May mga ibon na almost 9 months a year. Lumilipad sila. Yung iba, buong buhay nila nasa kuweba sila. Tulad ng mga ginagawang nido soup, yung mga nest soup, sa mga caves, madami nito. So buong buhay nila nandun na sila sa cave. Yung iba naman, lipad lang ng lipad. Next, please. Okay, birds are colorful. Lahat ng kulay ho makikita natin sa ibon. Minsan kailangan pa natin ng technical book para makalaman natin kung anong klaseng ibon siya. Minsan kasi nag-iba lang sila ng kulay, iba na yung iba na yung name ng bird na yon. So from blood red to stunning green, makukulay ang ibon pag nakita natin. Next please. Okay, birds come in different shapes. Ito ay small, medium, large. Kaya minsan pagka nagbe-bird watching kami, yung isang kasama ko, nakita akong ibon. Ang unang tanong ko ay malaki ba o medium o large? Kasi pag maliit, malamang family siya ng mga sunbird, ng mga flower pecker, or family siya ng mga insect eaters na maliliit lang. Okay? Pag medium, sinlaki ba siya ng dove o ng kalapate? So family ng dove siya at associated na family. Pag malaki, syempre, alam na kung sino yung malalaki. Kasunod na tanong, anong kulay? Ano yung prominent na kulay sa kanya? So magandang makonsider natin yung shape, size, color, and beak. Kasi doon nag-vary yung identification natin minsan. Next, please. Okay, birds are amazing. Yung Arctic tern, 40,000 kilometer in a year ang nililipad niya. Yung wandering albatross, kaya niyang matulog habang lumilipad. Yung hummingbirds, almost lifeless in winter nights. Yung black-tailed godwit, 9,600 kilometers ang nilipad niya sa loob ng 8 days na tuloy-tuloy. Okay? Kalimitan yan yung mga migratory birds. Okay, migratory birds kasi minsan tag-yelo na sa kanila, wala na silang makain, pupunta sila sa Pilipinas. Kasi maraming pagkain sa Pilipinas. Next, please. Okay, there are 691 species of birds in the Philippines. Okay, 239 sa Pilipinas lang natin makikita. Merong species tayo na introduce na 6 at 93 are classified as threatened under IUCN. So 55 are vulnerable, 23 are endangered species, and 15 are critically endangered. Okay, next please. So yung IUCN, ito yung International Union for Conservation of Nature. So sila yung nagbibigay ng red list criteria. Okay? So pag sinabi nating threatened species, ang category niya, maaaring critically endangered, endangered, and vulnerable. Okay? So sa atin, marami na tayong threatened species. Although tayo ay napaka-diverse, marami na ang threatened at marami pa ang malapit ng manganib dahil nasisira yung kanilang mga tirahan or mga habitat nila. At sa marami ring dahilan. Next please. Isa sa mga critically endangered natin yung Philippine Cockatoo. Okay? Makikita mo lang siya sa part ng Palawan, somewhere island in Visayas, and somewhere in Sulu. Next please. Okay, may tinatawag din tayong diurnal. Ito yung pang-umagang ibon. Okay? So, ito yung scaled feather munya. Okay? This is a Tarictic hornbill or endemic in Visayas, Visaya Island, Visayas region. Next, please. And we have nocturnal birds. This is the Philippine nightjar, endemic siya sa Pilipinas. And the Philippine hawk owl, dito lang din sa Pilipinas. Basta tandaan nyo, pag may nakita kayong pangalan na may Philippine, endemic siya sa atin. Pero meron din namang walang nakalagay na Philippine, pero endemic din sa Pilipinas. Okay? So may panggabi, iba. Ang ibon sa panggabi, iba yung active sa umaga. Next, please. May sinasabi din tayong resident, migratory, at endemic species. Okay? Pag sinabi nating resident, ito yung mga ibon na makikita sa Pilipinas at sa ibang bansa. Okay? Pag sinabi nating migratory, ito naman yung mga ibon na dadaan lang sa Pilipinas. Hindi sila mangingitlog dito. At ngayon, nandito na sila. Kasi September to March, andito sila. Pagka tapos na ang tagyelo sa kanila, lilipad uli sila papunta sa kanilang pinanggalingan. Okay? Kaya pagdating nila dito, talagang ang sama ng itsura nila kasi ang haba-haba ng nilipad nila. Okay, endemic, sa Pilipinas lang makikita o isang lugar o isla sa Pilipinas. Okay, next please. Example ng resident bird na ibon na makikita sa Pilipinas at sa ibang bansa. Okay, zebra dove. Okay, ang tawag na, meron din ito sa Banahaw, ang tawag natin ay bato-bato. Okay, ang huli, kurukutok, kurukutok, kurukutok. Okay. Pied fantail. Ang tawag natin dito sa atin sa Tayabas ay Maria Capra. Okay? Kaya sa tinawag na fantail ay yung buntot niya parang fan. Pied, it means 2 or more colors. So ang color niya ay black and white. So pied fantail. Next, please. Okay, whistling duck, resident sa Pilipinas. And the coppersmith barbet. Ang dami nito sa Banahaw. Ang huni nito ay puk, 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 puk. Yan. Next, please. At yung mga sunbird, ang tawag sa atin dito ay tamsi. Mga residenteng ibon sa atin yan. Next. At sa Banahaw, madami yan. Yan. Green imperial pigeon, the blue-naped parrot, straighted grassbird, and family of sunbird. So marami tayo sa Pilipinas. Kasi nga, ang taas ng endemism dito sa atin. Next, please. Yan. Punta tayo sa migratory bird. Dito sila ngayon, September to March. Arctic warbler. Ito yung inaabangan din ng mga birdwatcher. Maliit na ibon lang siya. Maliit pa sa aking kamao. As ito yung brown shrike. Ang sa atin tawag dito ay kilis or tarat. Next please. Yan, ito yung kilis, yung brown shrike. At ito yung Pacific swallow. O, kung nakikita nyo, tandaan nyo sa Lucena at dito sa atin sa may big time. Sa ibang tawag natin dito, Meralco bird kasi nando sila sa kuryente. Ang dami nilang ipot. Pagkatapos kasi sobrang dami nila. Kaya nagagalit yung mga nakapark doon sa Lucena. Sobrang dami. Pero ito ay may season lang. Okay? September to March lang. Next. Yes, ito yung gray strake flycatcher. Marami sa Banahaw ngayon. Last week nakakita ako nito. Tsaka itong oriental cuckoo. Okay? Sa mga insect eater itong mga ito. Next please. At yung egret. Okay? Sa atin ay tagak. So marami nito sa tubigan. Pero marami rin ito sa Banahaw, sa laylayan ng Banahaw. Kasi marami sila nakakain doon. Next. Okay, sabi natin, there are 258 species are endemic to the Philippines. Next please, kasama yung Philippine duck. Ang dami niya sa Dagatan Lake. Okay, endemic. Nasa atin ang pinakamaliit na woodpecker, pygmy woodpecker. Ang dami nito sa Mount Banahaw. At ito, ang madami din, yung Philippine bulbul. Okay, ang tawag naman natin dito ay kalagang gubat. Ang tawag ng mga locals. Next. Yes, kulasisi. Yan. So family siya ng parrot. Sa Pilipinas lang meron niyang kulasisi. At sa Banahaw, napakadami rin kulasisi. Next. Yun. Ito yung island endemics na sinasabi ko. Sa Visaya, iba ang Siama, iba yung Siama dito sa atin sa Luzon. Iba yung Taritik hornbill. Dito, iba yung hornbill sa Visayas. So iba-iba, may mga island endemics tayo. Next. Okay, the spotted wood kingfisher, marami sa Banahaw. Flaming sunbird. Ito yung flame-templed warbler. Ang ganda nito at makikita mo lang siya sa Visayas Island. At yung Philippine hawk owl, ito lang din sa Pilipinas. Next, please. Next. Okay, puntahan muna natin yung mga classification ng birds para may guide tayo. Okay? Kingdom, Animalia, Phylum Chordata. Ang class niya ay Aves. We have 7 orders for water birds and we have 12 orders for land birds. Next, please. Example ng family Accipitridae. Ito yung mga raptors natin. So, nandito yung mga hawks, eagle, mga buzzard, tsaka mga kites. So, family Accipitridae. Next. Yung family Rallidae. Dito naman yung mga family ng tikling. Okay? Yung mga coots, rails, tsaka yung mga water hens. So ito, mga tikling ito. So family Rallidae. Next. Family Ardidae. Ito yung mga bitterns, egret, tsaka mga heron. Yan. So yan yung mga water birds siya, yung family Ardidae. Next, please. Family Columbidae, siya yung mga doves and pigeon. Sa Banahaw, napakadami. So mamaya, isa-isahin natin siya. Next. Isa sa endemic sa Luzon at meron sa Banahaw. Pakiclick po, yan ay Marches fruit dove. Sa Luzon lang meron yan, yung Marches fruit dove. Ang ganda-ganda niya pag nakita natin. At sana makita nyo pagdating ng panahon. At pag nag-normalize na, pwede tayo mag-bird watching. Next, please. Sige, bleeding heart pigeons. Pakiclick po lahat. Yan. Isa pa po. So, marami tayong island endemic na bleeding heart pigeon. So, iba ang bleeding heart pigeon sa Mindoro, sa Negros, sa Sulu, sa Mindanao. Sa atin ay yung Luzon bleeding heart pigeon. Makikita mo lang siya sa Banahaw ay nandun siya sa ground. Kasi doon siya nagninest at ang galing-galing niya magtago. Siya ay kasama na ngayon sa threatened species. Itong Luzon bleeding heart pigeon, ang local name natin dito sa Tayabas ay nilalan. Okay? Next. family, Sitacidae. O kasama yung family of parrots, Rhachites, yung Colasisi. Yan. Ito yung Rhachitail, yung nasa gilid. Ang dami rin ito sa Banahaw. Yan. Ang galing-galing nilang magtago pag nanginginain sila. So yan yung mga family ng Sitacidae. Next please. Family Strigidae, sila yung mga owls, so family of owls, at saka yung mga nocturnal raptors. So, mamaya may mga sample tayo ng mga nocturnal birds. Next please. Family Alcedinidae, so yung mga family ng kingfishers. So mamaya, ito meron lahat ito sa Banahaw. Medyo sila, marami sila pa nag-hunt. Okay, next please. Family Bocerotidae, so family ng hornbill. Okay? Sa Banahaw wala tayo nito, yung pula yung tuka. Ito yung Northern Rufous hornbill, wala tayo nito sa Banahaw. Ang meron tayo nito sa dagatan. Pero itong Tarictic hornbill, tsaka ito, yung kulay puti ang tuka, Palawan hornbill, sa Palawan lang meron siya. Okay, next. Sige, tingnan natin yung iba't ibang hornbill kasi ang dami nating island endemics. Okay? Ibang hornbill sa iba't ibang parte ng Pilipinas. Ang atin ay itong Northern Rufous hornbill, yung kulay orange. Ang ganda ng Sulu hornbill, di ba? Kulay itim. Sa Palawan, kulay puti yung kanyang yung kulay niya. Okay? So, endemic sa atin ay yung Northern Rufous hornbill. Nakakatuwa itong hornbill. Sila ay nangingitlog sa sa butas ng mga kahoy. Yung mga yung mga woodpecker binubutas niya yung mga kahoy. Minsan lumalaki 'yon. Yun naman ang yun yung doon nangingitlog yung mga hornbill. Tsaka yung babae pag nangitlog siya at naglingling hindi na siya lumalabas. Nakalabas lang ay yung tuka niya. Okay? Yung lalaki, siya yung tagakuha ng pagkain, isusubo niya lang doon sa pagkain sa doon sa babaeng hornbill. Hanggang mangitlog, manganak, lumaki yung kanilang anak, tsaka lang siya lalabas. Okay? Okay, bakit makulay? Sa ibon, mas makulay ang lalaki. Kasi sila yung madalas nagpapapansin para ilayo nila yung mga prey doon sa kanilang mga anak at sa asawa nila o sa nest nila. So sila yung nagpapakita at nagpapahabol sa mga prey para layuan yung kanilang nest. So ganun yung katulad sa hornbill. Okay, next please. Family Sitacidae, it's the woodpecker. Sige, next please. So iba-iba rin ang mga woodpecker. Okay, ang sa atin ay yung Luzon flameback. Okay, may separate picture ako dyan na Luzon flameback na mas makita natin yung details. So ganyan kataas yung yung mga island endemic natin. Sige, next please. Okay, family Sternidae. So Minas and Starling. Ito, ang tawag dito sa atin ay glossy starling ito. Itong nasa left ko, glossy starling. Ito naman, ito yung Mina. Okay? Ang tawag dito originally ay hill Mina. Sa Palawan lang siya makikita. Pero ang tawag, ito yung tinatawag ng iba na talking Mina. Pero actually siya ay hill Mina. Okay, next please. Family Musicapidae, mga family ng flycatchers. Yan, mga insekto ang kinakain nila. Next please. Sige, more than 100 birds can be seen sa Mount Banahaw. Sige, tingnan natin kung ano-ano ito. Sige, pakiclick lang po. Karanasan namin sa bird watching at pag kami nag-monitor, ang ibon active siya early morning at late afternoon. Kasi early morning, sila ay kakain. May tinatawag tayong mixed flocks. Minsan sa isang ibon, sa isang puno, iba't ibang ibon ang makikita mo. Parang nagtatawagan sila, parinig na kayo, kakain tayo, sabay-sabay tayo kakain. Mixed flocks ang tawag doon. Yung iba kumakain ng insect, yung iba kumakain ng fruits, yung iba kumakain ng bulaklak. So mixed flocks, nakakatuwa ang ingay nila pag nandun ka sa gubat. Tahimik na tahimik, kung nakakita ka ng early morning ng maraming ibon, ma-amaze ka talaga kasi may maliit, may malaki, iba-ibang kulay, at sama-sama silang kumakain. Okay? Yun yung tinatawag na mixed flocks. Next, please. Sige, ito yung isa sa intervention na binabanggit ni Ma'am Juliet kanina. Meron kaming ginawang community-based biodiversity monitoring and evaluation system. So kasama namin yung mga taga-community. Kasi kailangan isama natin yung mga taga-community para merong sense of ownership at maramdaman nila na ganito pala ang gubat natin, ang ating bundok na paganda. Para maging kakampi natin sila syempre. Sige, pakiclick po please. So yung tapat kalikasan, siya ay tanod pamayanan ng Tayabas para sa kalikasan. Okay? So na-organize siya matagal na. Wala pa ako sa LGU. Sila yun na yung mga social fence natin dyan na nagtatanggol sa Banahaw. Sila yung mga farmers, mga kababaihan, at mga local leaders sa ating community. Next. So meron tayong tapat kalikasan sa Ilayang Bukal at meron tayong nursery doon. So diyan kami natutulog pa nagmo-monitor, diyan kami may nursery diyan, pamamagtatanim. Kumukuha sila ng wildling sa gubat, tapos ay pinapat nila sa nursery. Pagka pwede nang itanim, tinatanim na nila doon sa area. Kasi yung punong itatanim dapat sa Banahaw ay talagang dapat ay taga roon. At hindi ka pwede mag-introduce ng ibang species. Next, please. Meron din tayo sa Barangay Alitao, ganun din yung ginagawa. Next. Meron din tayo sa Barangay Lalo. So sila yung kauna-unahang TK na na-organize. Okay, yung sa Barangay Lalo. Next. Okay, next please. Ayan, ito yung na-establish naming biomonitoring sites. So 4 na barangay, actually 5 barangay. Ito yung sa Ilayang Bukal, ito yung sa Alitao, ito yung sa Lalo, and Kamay sa Dapdap. Quarterly, nagmo-monitor kami dyan. At ang indicator namin ay birds. Alam nyo kasi magandang indicator yung birds. Malalaman natin yung trend kung yung habitat ba o yung gubat ba ay umuunlad o nasisira. Birds ang ginagawa, ang indicator namin. So every quarter, pupunta kami dyan, naglalakad kami ng 2 kilometro sa aming transect line, nagbibilang kami ng ibon, naglilista kami, susunod na quarter, bakit kaya wala itong ibon na ito, ngayon ay may bagong species tayo nakita. So yun, yung mga trend, pabago-bago, so magandang data, baseline data yung ibon. Next please. So yan. So doon din sa nagpapatrolling, nagpapatrolling kami. Nalakad ko na yan simula Ilayang Bukal hanggang sa Dapdap, hanggang sa tuktok ng Banahaw kasama namin yung mga taga-community. Next. Yan, may mga inspection na ginagawa. Next. Ito yung patrolling namin nung nakaraan. Maraming naghahunting ng mga flying foxes. Ang dami sa Banahaw ng flying foxes. Ang laki-laki niya. Next. Yan, ito yung transect walk. Kasama ko yung community. Binibilang namin yung ibon. Makikita mo, maririnig mo. So, doon kami natuto kung ano yung huni ng mga ibon. At saka ano yung itsura ng mga ibon. Kahit yung mga locals kayang mag-identify. Kayo pa kaya, na kaya nga ng taga-community, kayang-kaya din natin yan. Next. Nakakalungkot din, although protected yung Mount Banahaw, maraming issues din tayo. Yung may nagmimina, may nagkakainin, yung mga nag-hunting. So marami na kaming nasampahan ng kaso at marami na rin nakulong. Pero ngayon kakaunti na. Yun naman nakakatuwa. Kasi kasama natin yung community sa pagkilos. Sige, next. Next, please. Ito na tayo. Punta tayo sa mga birds. Okay, alam na natin yung mga ibang tungkol sa birds. Actually, yung pag-usaping birds, medyo malawak, mahaba yung pag-uusapan natin pagdating sa birds. Sige, punta tayo muna sa mga ibon na pwede natin may counter sa Banahaw. Labuyo, okay, red jungle fowl. Ang dami-dami sa Mount Banahaw. Yan. Next. Yan, osprey. So sila yung mga raptors. Pag maganda ang panahon, mainit, Nakikita mo yan doon, palipad-lipad lang yan. Nag-hunt yan ng prey nila. Next. Yan, Brahmini kite. Yan, Brahmini kite. Ang ganda, no? Para siyang kite. Yan din, mga raptors din siya. Family ng raptors. Meron siya sa Banahaw. At nung nakaraang taon, nag-release din ang mga Brahmini kite. So yung mga nako-confiscate ng DNR at ibang tineturn over sa amin, pinapacheck namin sa vet. Pag okay na i-release, nire-release namin sa Mount Banahaw. At syempre, may approval ng PAMBI. Next. Yan, ang Philippine Serpent Eagle. Ang ganda niyan. Marami rin sa Banahaw yan. Yan, makikita mo, pagka lumipad ang mga raptors, sa pakpak nila, ma-identify mo na kung sila ay Serpent Eagle or sila ay Brahmini kite. So iba yung hugis at saka yung mga stripes doon sa wings. Kaya kahit malayo siya, pag lumipad, nakita mo yung wingspan niya, alam mo kung anong ibon siya, anong raptor siya. Next. Yan, Philippine Hawk Eagle, meron sa atin. Sa Banahaw meron. Ako'y nakakita na. Next. Yan, Peregrine Falcon. Sa Banahaw, meron din. Next. Ito yung black-faced buzzard. Ito ay nakuhanan ko ng pictures ay sa Barangay Lalo, sa Mount Banahaw. Medyo malayo siya, pero ganyan ang itsura niya. Next. Ito ay pugo. Okay, pugo. Beard bottom quail. Nakikita mo to sa Banahaw, patawid-tawid lang sa trail. Akala mo sisiw, pero ang bibilis nila. Yan. So marami yan sa Banahaw, bird bottom quail. Next. Yan, yung tikling, bird rail. Parang tikling kabayo ang tawag ng mga locals dyan, tikling kabayo. So ito yung isa sa favorite i-hunt ng mga tao kasi malaki yung laman niya. Masarap daw siya sa arroz caldo. Next, please. Yan, family din ng tikling, yung plain bush hen. Sige, ipa-flash na lang ho natin yung mga ibon. Next, please. Yan, isang tikling din. White-breasted water hen. Yes. Sa Banahaw, meron yan. Next, please. Yan, ang maganda. Ito yung family ng dove. Yung flame-breasted fruit dove. Makikita mo siya sa medyo higher elevation na. Itong mga ganitong ng mga doves. Flame-breasted fruit dove. So ganun yung pagpapangalan sa ibon, siya ay family ng fruit dove. Flame, may red siya sa breast, flame-breasted, ang family niya ay fruit dove. Kaya flame-breasted fruit dove. So minsan ganun yung mga pangalan ng ibon, 3, minsan 4 pa. Okay, next. Ito, marami sa Banahaw din. Kahit dito sa Linang, marami yung diba? White-eared brown dove. Meron siyang white dun sa ear at kulay brown siya at family niya ay dove. So white-eared brown dove. Okay? Limukin ang tawag sa atin. So ang huni niya yung wut 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 wut. Yan. So ang ingay niyan sa bundok. Next. Yan. The Philippine Cuckoo Dove. Ang local name dito sa atin ay ughaw. Ito yung akala ng mga tao pag nasa gubat may humihiyaw kasi ang huni niya ay woo! 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 Yan. So yan yung Philippine Cuckoo Dove. Next. Yan. Zebra Dove. Ang tawag sa atin ay bato-bato. Okay? Ang huni niya ay rukutok, rukutok, rukutok. Yan. Kahit sa parke dito sa atin meron siya. Yung Zebra Dove. Next. Ito yung Emerald Dove. Ang local term ng mga taga-barangay dito ay balud. Okay? It's common emerald dove. Ang ganda ng kulay niya. Sa Banahaw, napakarami niya. Next. Ito, ang madalang makita, yung amethyst brown dove. Madalang namin makita siya, pero pag nakita mo siya, ang ganda-ganda ng kulay niya. Yan. So, ang dami rin yan sa Mount Banahaw. Next. Ito ay black chin fruit dove. Okay? May black siya sa chin at family niya ay fruit dove. Ito yung spotted imperial pigeon. Itong spotted imperial pigeon, malaki ito. Excuse me. Medyo malaki siya pero sa higher elevation mo siya makikita. Mga elevation niya ay mahigit 1,000 meters above sea level na. Okay? Maganda. Maganda itong ibong ito. Next. Okay, yung metallic pigeon and red turtle dove, meron to sa Banahaw. Ang dami nating dove sa Mabanahaw. Kaya pagka talagang maganda ang panahon, lalo na pagka panahon ng May, may mga bunga, yung mga punong kahoy doon sa gubat, marami kang makikitang iba't ibang klase ng ibon. Basta may dala ka lang binocular at saka naka-camouflage ka, naka-blend yung color mo, green or brown, hindi ka nila mapapansin. Okay, next. Okay, crested myna. Ang tawag sa atin ito ay Martinez. Okay? Martinez. Ito yung common coel, ito yung maingay. Pag maingay dito sa gubat. Ayan. Sa Banahaw, marami po niyan. Next. Ito yung Luzon Bleeding Heart Pigeon. Ako'y nag-bird watching dito sa Atimonan nung nakaraang taon. Alam mo, may nakilala ko mga bird watchers, yung mga Philippine Wild Bird Photographer of the Philippines. Ang pinuntahan lang nila doon ay para picturean ito. Pagka-picture nito, umalis na sila. Kasi napakadalang magpakita nitong Luzon Bleeding Heart. Next. Yan, Guyabero. Click. Yan, Guyabero. Marami yan sa Pilipinas. Sa Banahaw, ang tawag ng mga lokas yan ay bubotok. Okay, bubotok ang tawag sa Tayabas. So, family siya ng parrot. Okay, next. Okay, yung palasisi, meron na tayo kanina. Next. Yan, common coel. Ingay din yan. Kulay itim, kulay pula ang mata. Next. Yan. Ito ang isa sa mga gusto kong ibon. Okay? Yung red-crested malcoha. Okay, family siya ng malcoha. Okay, ito ang red-crested malcoha yung nasa left. Ito naman scale feather malcoha. At sa Luzon lang meron ito. Kaya yung mga taga-Visayas, pag pumupunta dito sa atin, ng mga bird watchers, ito yung gustong-gusto nila makita kasi sa kanila wala nito. Sa atin lang sa Luzon meron. Next. At sa Banahaw madami. Yan, yung Philippine Kukal o Rufus Kukal. Ito yung Philippine Kukal o pareha silang Kukal, Rufus Kukal kasi kulay orange siya. Ang tawag dito sa atin, sa local name ay sabukot. Okay? Sabukot. Ang huni niya, minsan pa iba-iba. Pag nasa gubat, minsan ang huni niya ay so, ganun yung huni niya. Next. Yan. Ito ay yung Philippine Scoops Owl. Ito yung nakuhanan ko ay sa gabi, sa Barangay Lalo. Sa Barangay Lalo. Medyo juvenile pa siya, bata pa siya. Ang ingay. Nung nag-iingay siya nung gabi, hinanap talaga namin yan. Yan, nakita namin. Siguro hinahanap niya yung nanay niya. Medyo juvenile pa, maliit pa siya. Yan. So endemic yan sa Pilipinas at meron sa Banahaw. Next. Yan, Philippine Eagle Owl. Sa Banahaw, sa gabi, ang ingay-ingay nito. Bigla na lang sumisigaw ito. Woo! Woo! Ganun yan. So yan yung Eagle Owl. Next. So meron pa tayong Luzon Hawk Owl. Sa Luzon lang at meron sa Banahaw nito. Next. Ito yung nightjar. Ang ingay din ito sa gabi. Active sila sa gabi. Kasama ng mga owl. Sila yung, kaya pag ikaw mapanglawin sa gubat at nagka-camping-camping ka, marami kang naririnig na mga tunog sa gabi. Actually, mga ibon yun. Okay? Yung iba palaka. Next. Yan. Ang isa ring hinahangaan kong ibon sa Banahaw. Ito ay Philippine Trogon. Ito yung tinatawag naming ibong Adarna. Okay? So alin dyan ang lalaki? So mas makulay ang lalaki, yung may red. So Philippine Trogon. Napakaganda ng huni nitong ibon na ito. Hindi ko kayang gayahin. Napakaganda. At napakadalang din niya magpakita. Minsan ginagawa namin, nagpe-playback kami. So meron kaming mga recorded na mga sounds ng ibon. Ini-playback namin 'yon. Nasa gubat kami. Pe-play namin 'yon. Maya-maya bigla yung huhuni din hanggang sa lumapit sa iyo. Yan. So ang ganda-ganda nitong ibon na ito. Next please. Yan, yung Luzon Tarictic Hornbill. Actually, ito yung aking spark bird, kaya ako nahilig sa birding. Okay? Sa birding, may mga linggo na ginagamit. Pag sinabing spark bird, ano yung bird na nagustuhan mo, na nainganyo ka mag-birding? Okay? So, yung aking spark bird, Tarictic. Okay? Pag sinabi natin sa birding lifer, nakakita ako ng ganitong ibon. It's my lifer. Ibig sabihin, ngayon ko lang siya nakita. Okay? O ano yung life list mo? Life list. Mag-birding tayo, anong life list mo? Ito naman, yung mga, ano yung gusto mong makita sa pag-birding natin. Okay? So yung mga birder, nagkakaintindihan doon. Next, please. Yan, Luzon Flameback. Nakita ko sa Banahaw nito, ganun din sa Dagatan Lake meron tayo. Next. Ito, ang madalang din makita, yung mga family of pita. Okay? Sila ay nasa ground. Next. Yan, whiskered pita. Ito yung red-bellied pita. Next. Okay? Mahaba yung paa nila, yung hooded pita. Kasi talagang mga ground bird sila. Ay kita mo yan, mga namumungkal lang sa daan. Next. Okay, yung yellow-wattled bulbul and Philippine bulbul, yan, endemic yan sa atin. Madami yan sa lower elevation natin sa Banahaw. Next, alagang gubat ang tawag. Okay, black nape oriole sa atin ay kilyawan. Okay, kaya tinawag siyang black nape. May black siya sa nape at ang family niya ay oriole, black nape oriole. Next, ang huni ay elegant tit. Maliit lang siya, makain siya ng mga insect. Madami yan. Pag sila ay nagkumakain, sabay-sabay sila, ang ingay nila. Next. Ito yung nuthatch. Kinakain nila yung mga insekto at mga bulate dito sa mga sanga ng puno. Minsan kaya nilang bumaliktad ng pagkain. Next. Pag kumakain. Philippine magpie robin, meron sa Banahaw. Next. Yan, yung blue-headed fantail, maingay din sila sa gubat. Walang local term yung mga locals natin. Basta alam nila fantail siya. Blue-headed, syempre blue yung head niya. Next. Yan, Rufus Paradise flycatcher. Mga flycatchers yan. Okay, ganda. Next. Ito yung long-tailed shrike. Meron sa Banahaw. Next. Yan, red-keeled flower pecker. Ang liit lang na ibon nito. Meron siyang red dun sa kanyang keeled at ang family niya ay flower pecker. Okay? So yun yung kinakain niya, yung maliliit na yan. Next. Ito ay heron, black crown night heron. Okay? Sa Banahaw meron ito. Next. Doon ko siya nakuhanan sa Banahaw. At ito yung lowland white eye. Ito yung nakuhanan ko din doon. So yan, kinakain niya yung mga pula na yan. So ang tawag nila doon ay pirit kasi napakaliit niya. Next. Okay, mga kingfishers. May mga white-collared kingfisher. Meron tayong mga indigo-banded kingfisher na sa Banahaw. Next. Meron tayong common kingfisher. Ito yung brown-breasted kingfisher. Marami rin yan sa Banahaw. Next. Spotted yung kingfisher. So yung mga kingfisher, yung mga family niya, ang local term natin doon ay sagaksak. Sagaksak. Next. Yung kilis. Next. Brown shrike or kilis migratory. Ito, pied buschat. Pied buschat. Ang liit lang niya. Alam niyo ba ito ay lalaki? Lalaki ito. Alam niyo ba kulay ng babae nito ay parang puti? Magkaiba yung kulay nila. Next. Ito, yung ashy ground thrush sa ground birds. Kaya napapasin yung mga ground birds, mahaba yung paa niya. Yan, mahilig sila sa ground. Ito yung balikasyaw. Maingay ito at kaya niyang gumaya ng iba't ibang huni din at paiba-iba rin yung huni niya. Okay? Balikasyaw. Next. Konti na lang. Black nape monarch. Madalang kong makita ito. Ito yung kuleto. Ang local name natin dito ay kuling. Okay? Kuling ang tawag nila. Parang kalbo yung ibon na to. Walang balahibo yung ulo niya. Next. Yan, so naulit lang. Blue-headed fantail at pied fantail. Next. Yan, Philippine duck. Ito yung Philippine tailor bird. Sa Banahaw yung Philippine duck meron ha. Meron ito. Talagang minsan nangingitlog nga sila doon sa mga sa mga damuhan. Tapos itong Philippine tailor bird, ang liit lang nito. Ang ingay nito, sobrang ingay. Minsan ang hirap hanapin ito kasi sumisiksik siya sa mga sukalan. Kahit maingay na maingay siya, kahit nasa harapan mo na hindi po makita. Yan yung Philippine tailor bird. Kaya tinawag siyang Philippine tailor bird kasi yung nest niya, talagang tinatahi niya. Tinatahi niya. Magaling itong ibon na ito. Next. Yan, yung swiftlets, palipad-lipad lang yan. Ito ang maganda, yung Philippine frogmouth. Ito ay nocturnal bird, sa gabi sila active. So ganyan ang itsura niya. Philippine frogmouth. Madami sa Banahaw at maingay yan tuwing gabi. Next. Yan, little egret, meron doon, long-tailed shrike. Marami din sa Banahaw, kaya sa lower elevation lang siya. Next. Yan, so iba yung mountain white eye, iba yung lowland white eye. Sa mountain white eye, medyo sa higher elevation mo siya makikita. Next. Yan. So marami tayong family ng sunbird. Ito, Oliback sunbird. Kahit sa baba, sa bayan, meron ito. Purple-throated sunbird, kahit sa bayan meron ito. Pero sa Banahaw, marami din ito. Next. Tamsi ang tawag natin dyan. Yan, yung pygmy, pinakamalit na woodpecker nasa atin. Ito yung sooty woodpecker. Nako, pag nakita nyo ito, ang ingay nito pag tumutok-tok na sa kahoy. Yan, sooty woodpecker. Sa Banahaw ko nakita yan. Next. Yan, straighted dustbird. Kalimitan na dito lang sa salaylayan ng Banahaw. Ito ang maganda, whiskered tree swift. Machong macho. Ganda niyang itsura niya. Meron yan sa atin sa Banahaw. Next. At sana'y makita nyo rin susunod na panahon. Brush cuckoo and white-breasted wood swallow. Meron din sa Banahaw. Next. Yan. Kilala nyo ba ito? Yung, pabalik po. Yan. That's a dollar bird. Okay. Hindi ko alam kung bakit dollar bird ang tawag nila. Ang ganda-ganda yung image. Nakita ko ito, dollar bird, ay malapit na ako sa tuktok ng Banahaw. Yan, dollar bird. Doon mo lang siya halos makikita sa elevation na yon. Next. Yan. Ito yung citrine flycatcher. Ito yung olive-back sunbird. Yan. So mga family ng sunbird yan. Next. Yan. White-browed shama. Yan. Kuha ko ito sa barangay Dapdap. Ilayang Bukal. Maingay na ibon yan. Gumamit ako ng playback, nagpatunog ako, lumapit talaga sa akin yan, kaya nakuhanan ko ng malapitan. Next. Okay. Tapos na tayo. Ilan lang yung sa mga birds na nakikita sa Banahaw? Actually, more than 100 birds. Doon sa biomonitoring namin, ang na-encounter pa lang namin na ibon ay 87 birds. 87 birds at tuloy-tuloy kaming mag-monitor. Minsan iniisip namin baka tumaas na kami ng elevation kasi iba yung makikitang birds sa higher elevation. Sige. Importance ng birds para yan. Okay? Birds are handsome. I'm more handsome than Melvin. Yeah. Next. Okay, birds are pretty. Ganda. Ganda ng kulay. Birds are cute. Next. Yan. Birds are useful, syempre, for food. Next. Birds are useful. Okay? They are pollinators. Next. Birds are useful. Kasi sila yung mga originally nagki-tree planting. Next. Kumakain sila ng insect at kinokontrol na yung pagdami ng insects. Okay, next. They are useful as a scavenger, di ba? Kasama sila sa pagbabalance ng ating ng ecosystem. Next. Siyempre, cultural icon and our national pride. Pag sinabing Philippine Eagle, talaga namang nakaka-proud. Sa atin lang meron yan. Next. At siyempre, bahagi sila ng web of life. Okay? So, pinag-aralan natin kanina sa 7 principles of the environment. So, yung cycle ng life. Okay, so yung mga birds, bahagi sila doon. Next. Sige. Matatapos na tayo. Ano ba yung pwede nating magawa as youth? Okay? Bukod sa we must protect Mount Banahaw and habitat nila. Kasi sabi natin sila na lang nakitirang reserve na siya primary intact forest. Yung nabanggit ni Ma'am Juliet, pwede tayong join citizen science, Pwede tayong sumama pag monitor, pag bird watching. Okay? Pwede tayong mag-conduct ng research. Tulungan namin kayo pag kayo ay interesado. Next, pwede tayong mag-participate sa biomonitoring, bird count, bird watching. Sayang nga lang yung panahon ngayon, kung talagang pwede, mag-enjoy kayo. Okay? Ngayong pandemic, ano yung pwede nating magawa? Yan, ito yung panahon para magnilay tayo. Marami tayong dapat pag-aralan. Sana yung social media magamit natin for environmental advocacy natin. Huwag naman sana laging puro selfie na lang natin yung nakikita natin sa ating media account. So, gamitin natin yung media account para promote yung environmental advocacy. Marami tayong Philippine environmental laws, mahigit 200 yung batas natin. Get familiar with our environmental laws and educate others. Para itong panahon ito ay pare-pares tayo natututo. Okay? Kasi yung learning naman, continuous siya dapat. Okay, join environmental groups. Pati nung panahon, sana take up wildlife courses or forestry. So marami pa tayong pwedeng magawa bilang mga kabataan pagdating sa biodiversity. Okay? Next. Yun. Thank you. Sana susunod na panahon, pwede tayo mag-bird watching. Actually, hindi mo kailangan pumunta sa bundok para mag-bird watching. Ito pa lang sa bayan, sa school nyo sa Luis Palad, ang dami na tayong ibang makikita. Kaya lang, hindi pa pwede ngayon. Pero subukan nyo muna sa inyo, sa bahay nyo, sa paligid nyo. Try to, tumingin sa paligid. Kaysa maghapon tayong nakahiga ng TV, nagsi-cellphone. Minsan-minsan, medyo, magiging mapagmasid tayo sa paligid natin. Bukod sa ibon, tingnan nyo, ba't kaya may ibon dito? Siguro kinakain niya itong punong ito. Sa Facebook, maraming ngayon, mga group. Di ba? Sa bird, marami. Nandiyan yung Philippine Bird Club, nandiyan yung Wild Bird Photographer of the Philippines. Mag-join kayo doon. Marami kayong matutunan. May mga grupo ng mga snakes of the Philippines, merong tungkol sa mga spiders, tungkol sa mga butterfly, tungkol sa mga insekto. Nag-join ako lahat doon. Kaya pag nakakita ko ng plants, pinipicturean ko lang siya, sinesend ko doon sa Facebook, please ID from Tayabas, Quezon. Yan. Tapos yung mga doon, kanya-kanyang comment na. Yan. Natututo ko doon. So kayo, pwede rin yung gawin yun. Gamitin natin yung social media. Ito na yung trend ngayon. So gamitin natin ng maayos. Okay, parang overtime na ako. Maraming salamat. Sana ay may tutunan tayo sa hapong ito. Kung may tanong, sige, at sagutin po natin sa abot natin makakaya. Thank you po at magandang hapon.
Yes, sir. Birds are handsome and they are useful. We appreciate you for taking the time to speak with us and educate us about your presentation entitled Birds of Mount Banahaw de Tayabas. Mr. Melvin C. Rada. Biodiversity is truly crucial to our everyday lives. Sadly, the rate of biodiversity goes down. Although Philippines is small, it is a biodiversity hotspot, but at some point, people are the cause of why biodiversity diminish. Birds are everywhere. It comes in different shapes, colors, beaks, and it varies depending to its body parts. Birds are great part of Philippine biodiversity. There are 691 species of birds in the Philippines, in which around 250 are endemic. Now that we've known some things about birds, it is important for us to take note to help and to help to preserve these birds by protecting their habitats by not disturbing them. I could say that we have heard and seen from you about the different types of birds, and it is truly astounding, sir. Thank you, po. We will now have a question and answer session where our viewers and listeners can ask questions to our speakers. Can I ask everyone to participate in our open forum by simply typing their questions or observations? And we look forward to reading your responses and responding to your concerns. Sir, the first question is it possible to produce more birds that are endangered? How po?
Ah, kung akong tatanungin, kasi ano yan wildlife siya. So hindi naman domesticated yung mga ibon na endangered species Magandang bayaan na natin sila sa wild at naturally sila yung dumami. Ano? Yun ay personal kong opinion. Bayaan na natin sila dun sa wild, alagaan na lang natin yung kanilang habitat. Sigurado dadami naman yun. Naturally. At hindi natin sila magagambala. So yun yung tingin ko na kaya naman sila naging endangered kasi may nangahunting. Kaya sila naging endangered kasi nasira yung habitat nila. Kaya sila naging endangered kasi disturbed sila. Yan, kung gusto talaga natin silang paramihin, huwag natin silang hulihin, alagaan din natin yung kanilang habitat, huwag natin silang gambalain. Kasi yun lang naman yung dahilan kung bakit sila na kumukunti yung bilang nila, nababawasan sila. Kung hindi natin sila babawasan, kung hindi gagambalain, tingin ko talagang magre-reproduce sila ng madami.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I agree to your answer. Kung papakaalaman po natin yung mga endangered na birds, there are a higher possibility na baka lalo lang po silang ma-stress due to the attention. It is better if we take care of them and just let them be in the wild po. Okay? The second question po is, what should we do when we encounter this kind of birds in danger, but we don't know how to handle them? Where can we surrender them?
Okay. So, what should we do when we encounter these kinds of birds in danger? So yung ibon na nasa panganib siya, parang gano'n. Tama ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, pwede silang, may proper handling kasi sa birds, May mga proper handling sa birds. So, actually, itong nakarang pandemic, ang dami nag-turnover sa amin ng mga eagles, marami nag-turnover ng mga fruit dove, may nag-turnover ng mga owls. Buti meron tayong veterinary office dito. So siya yung sine-check talaga niya kung malusog yung ibon. Pag hindi siya malusog, dapat bago siya pakawalan, papalakasin mo na siya. So binigyan siya ng vitamins, binigyan siya ng in-injectionan siya ni doc. Turn over siya sa DNR kasi yung DNR, meron silang rescue center or facility sa parting Laguna. So doon siya nilalagay, depende sa case, kung sugatan siya, ginagamot siya ng veterinary, kukulong siya doon, papalakasin siya, papakainin. Pagka ready to release na siya, tsaka lang siya pakakawalan. Okay? Ngayon, kung natatakot kayong damputin yung ibon, mas safe kung may gloves kayo or may tela kayo. Tela. Siguro ibalutin nyo muna ng tela. Lagay nyo sa kulungan. Pagdating sa kulungan, make sure na yung kulungan ay tatakpan nyo rin ng tela kasi para iwas stress din yon. Dalhin nyo sa amin. Pwede sa amin sa office, sa Lupa Hall, or pwede rin sa DNR. Pwedeng sa amin kasi mas malapit na kami sa vet. mas malapit na sa kami sa vet office. Para bago natin i-turn over sa DNR, ma-check na ng vet. Kasi ipapacheck din ng DNR dito yon sa vet natin. So kailangan ma-check mo na ng vet, tapos turn over na sa DNR, kaya dadaling sa rescue center ng DNR kasi may facilities naman sila doon. Yung City Enro wala pang facility niya. Pero yung mga simpleng cases lang na kayang-kaya naman natin dito. Okay? Pag malakas naman at kayang lumipad, actually pwede naman pakawalan siya. Depende sa assessment ng ating vet. So yun.
So, yun. Thank you po, sir. So, yun, my fellow students. If you don't know how to handle the birds, then give them to the authorities. And also, kapag you don't know how to handle them, you could ask naman. Okay. Third question, what are the possible effects of severe extinction of birds to our environment?
What are the possible effects of Yun, kung i-relate ko siya sa 7 environmental principles, diba sabi doon ay everything is interrelated to everything else, all life forms are important kasi may kanya-kanya silang parting ginagawa sa ating ecosystem. Okay? Just imagine, halimbawa, nawala ang mga flower peckers. Okay? Nawala ang mga raptors natin na ang trabaho nila ay, di ba, mag-balance ng ating ecosystem. Yung isa taga-balance ng insect, So may mga possibility na dumami yung insect dahil nawala yung isang taga-control sa kanya. So parang sa daga at ahas lang din. Okay? Pagka inubos natin lahat ng ahas, dadami ang daga, dadami ang palaka. Tingin ko sa ibon, ganun din. Kasi pag na-extinct siya, minsan hindi mo na kaya siyang ibalik eh. So wala na yung papel na ginagampanan niya doon sa environment. So yun. Pagka nawala na siya, may kabawasan doon sa pagbabalance ng ating environment. Kasi part siya ng environment, part siya ng biodiversity natin.
Thank you, sir. Yes, the fourth question is, as students, how can we help lower the mortality rate of different endangered bird species?
As a student, how can we help lower the mortality rate of different endangered bird species? Yes. Okay, una, dapat alamin niyo muna kung ano yung mga species nating endangered na. Okay? Research tayo, may time. Wala tayo sa IUCN, sa Google, actually halos nandun na. Okay? Bilang estudyante, yung sinasabi ko rin kanina, mag-advocate tayo. Di ba? Use natin yung social media natin na yung mga post natin, yung mga endangered species natin, sana ay alagaan natin. Kasi we have to also educate others. Kaya naman sila minsan naging endangered yung ibang species natin kasi hindi naman alam ng mga tao na ilan na sila. Okay? So bilang estudyante, malaki yung papel natin. Isa yon, mag-advocate tayo. Pag-aralan muna natin kung ano sila, educate others. Dapat malaman din nila. Kasi kung tayo lang nakakaalam, wala tayong kakampi. Okay? So kung gagamitin natin yung social media ngayon, makapangyarihan na yung social media, share, post, tag, tingin ko malaking bagay na yon. At bukod doon, syempre, ang i-advocate din natin yung pangangalagaan ng kanilang habitat, ng kanilang tirahan. Okay? So, sa ngayon, parang mas effective ngayon gawin. Gumawa ka ng poster, gumawa ka ng video, gumawa ka ng mga vlogs kung gusto mo, ba? Gumawa ka ng mga pwede mong i-post sa social media. So malaking bagay 'yon. Okay? So educate yourself, educate ourselves and educate others. Use yung social media ng maayos, Tingin ko bilang estudyante ngayon, malaking bahagi 'yon. Malaki na yung effect noon, malaking matutulong noon para sa campaign ng mga endangered species natin. At sana hindi lang endangered species, ha, yung pati yung environment, yung habitat, kaya wag sana laging selfie, yung like sinasabi, kahit yung mga minsan yung mga anak ko, puro selfie, kaya magpo-post tayo ng mga trivia paminsan-minsan tungkol sa environment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering the questions of our students. I just have something to ask, sir. Do you have your last message for all the youth that are watching us today before we proceed? And do you want to promote anything, sir?
Okay. Siguro we have to organize ourselves as a youth. Alam nyo ba kayo ang pinakamarami na populasyon sa Pilipinas? Kailangan buo tayo, buo yung kabataan. Tsaka alam natin dapat yung pinaglalaban natin. Malaki yung papel ng youth, lalo na sa environment. Gusto ko kayo i-challenge. Ganito, yung City Enro, nagbabudget kami sa office tungkol sa environment. Okay? Ang budgeting period namin, basta taon-taon siya. Pwede kayo magpasa ng project proposal sa office. Okay? Tignan natin. Basta yung related sa environment. Tignan natin at hahanapan natin ng pondo kung saan natin siya pwedeng kuhanan at lagyan ng pondo. Basta tungkol sa environment. Taon-taon nag-run for biodiversity kami kung nakakasama kayo. Kaya lang itong pandemic, hindi kami nag-run for biodiversity. So pwede din tayong mag-ganon, pwede tayong yung science, science celebration nyo, pwede nating i-tie up sa office. At kung may mga resources kami, pwede namin bigay sa inyo, ipagamit sa inyo, basta tungkol sa environment. Okay? Basta ang mahalaga lang po, kailangan buo tayo as a youth. Siyempre, kailangan malakas tayo. Malakas ang katawan natin, healthy tayo. Okay? Para magawa natin yung mga gusto natin gawin. Medyo challenging ngayong panahong ito. Maraming pwedeng gawin kahit pandemic. Alam nyo, kahit nasa loob kayo ng bahay, kahit nasa bakuran kayo, kahit nasa linang kayo, marami tayong ma-explore. Basta keep moving forward lang. Matututo at matututo tayo. Basta everyday is a learning process. Sana ay gawin natin sa isang araw may natutunan tayo. Dapat ganon. Bagong learnings. Kasi kailangan iba na yung may alam ka, di ba? Iba na yung ready ka. Okay? So yun lang. Basta tayo, for the environment, magkakampi tayo dyan. At sinachallenge ko kayo kung may mga proposal kayo na gustong gawin sa organizations or sa school ninyo, basta related sa environment, pwede nating pagtulungan. Thank you po.
Thank you, sir. Let us proceed again in awarding of the certificates. May we call on Mr. Wendell R. Mayor to award the certificate. Sir Wendell?
So, thank you very much, Sir Melvin. So, take note po namin yung inyong mga nasabi regarding the project proposal. So, ngayon pa lang po, mag-iisipin na namin kung ano yung magiging project ng aming organization to promote our environment, especially dito sa Tayabas. At napakalaking tulong po ng inyong i-share ngayong araw. So kahit po ako, ngayon ko lang din natutunan or nalaman kung ano-ano yung mga ibon na pwede nating makita, especially pagdating sa Mount Banahaw, specifically in Mount Banahaw de Tayabas. And to award the certificate of recognition to our resource speaker, let me first read the citation. Republic of the Philippines, Department of Education, Region 4A, Calabarzon, Province of Quezon City Schools Division of Tayabas, Luis Palad Integrated High School, City of Tayabas. Awards this certificate of recognition to Melvin C. Rada in grateful acknowledgement of his invaluable service as resource speaker during the Youth Environmental Forum entitled #Youth for Environment Unlocking Advocacies for Biodiversity as part of the 2021 Science Month celebration with the theme Revisiting the Past, Reinventing the Future, Enabling Science Education, given this 24th day of September 2021 at Luis Palad Integrated High School, Barangay Ipilan, Tayabas City. Signed by Marvin J. Rosales, Head Teacher T, Science Department, and signed by Dr. Hener C. De Los Reyes, Secondary School Principal 4. So muli, maraming salamat po, Sir Melvin C. Rada.
Thank you po. Thank you po sa inyo.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you po, sir. To initiate the next talk for this afternoon, let's have Miss Alethea Escabuyo to introduce our fourth speaker.
It is my honor to present to you our last research speaker for today, who will share about the localized plan in Mount Banahaw that will surely help students to learn the fundamentals of maintaining cultural identity and use of providing more realistic evaluation of environment and natural resources. Our research speaker is a forester and environmental planner. She received her undergraduate at 2006 and master degree at 2011 from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and currently pursuing PhD by research in the same university. As a faculty of the Forestry and Environmental Science Department, College of Agriculture at Southern Luzon State University, she has led research, extension, and production projects that focus on clonal propagation technology for the conservation of threatened native forest trees of Mount Banahaw de Lucban. Her other work engagements enable her to publish scientific papers on environmental planning and management, application of GIS, disaster recovery and reconstruction, watershed and agroforestry system, and bioenergy and biofuels. She has been active at Tanggol Kalikasan INC as research person in the SLSU Institute of Environmental Governance training team from 2012. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome our research speaker, Ms. Katrina G. Engay Gutierrez.
Hi, isang makakalikasang hapon sa inyong lahat. My warmest greetings also to the Luis Palad Integrated High School for their 2021 Science Club Month celebration and in organizing this Youth Environmental Forum. I am happy to share with you the topic on localized plant profiling with focus on Mount Banahaw. I would like to know first which plant did you come from? So here are places in Quezon Province named after plants. For example, the place name is Lucban, which I am residing now, and the plant name derived from is Lucban, with the scientific name Citrus grandis and family name Rutaceae. Another municipality in Quezon is Mauban. It is derived from Mauban, and the scientific name is Planconia spectabilis, family name is Lecitidaceae. Another municipality is Pitogo. It is a cycas species with the family name Cycadaceae. Asicho in Quezon Province named Tagbakan is derived from the plant Tagbak with the scientific name Alpinia elegans and the family name is Zingiberaceae. Tayabas, or the municipality of Tayabas, is derived from Tagabas. The scientific name of the plant is Diplasmium esculentum with the family name Ateriaceae. And lastly, the municipality of Chaong is derived from the Dipterocarpaceae tree Chaong with the scientific name Shorea ovata. This next slide shows the plants that I have mentioned in the previous, such as the Lucban fruits, the Mauban twig with young fruit, Cycas revoluta, Tagbakan, Tagabas, and Chaong leaves and flowers. So this is the outline of my presentation. First is the introduction on the discussion of plants that is found in Mount Banahaw. Second is I would like to present a collection of some plant species in Mount Banahaw and those that is common in Quezon Province. And third will be the assessment methods as well as the propagation techniques in producing these plants. So this is a map showing the key biodiversity areas in the Philippines. And if you could look at number 29, Mount Banahaw San Cristobal Protected Landscape falls under this category. The Philippines records high endemism with at least 19 genera of angiosperms comprising 53.3% of the total native species of the country. The Mount Banahaw San Cristobal Protected Landscape has 55 endemic plant species including 16 threatened species among vascular plants. The endemicity of flora range from 66 to 76%, with an abundance of pioneer species such as Moraceae and Meliaceae families. Rafflesia species that is endemic only to Mount Banahaw, or the Rafflesia philippinensis, was rediscovered in 2006 according to FPE in 2021. However, the flora of the mountain has threats. Extraction of natural forest products including illegal mining and quarrying, as well as wildlife resource extraction such as plant gathering and timber poaching. The Mount Banahaw de Lucban, which tower 1,875 meters above sea level, is one of the three peaks of Mount Banahaw San Cristobal Protected Landscape. It is known as the Rain Mountain because of the humidity that induces more rain in the area, and it is delightfully rich with forest cover. Unlike the two other peaks, Mount Banahaw de Lucban is in a pristine condition where the absence of any baldness or kaingin on the face of the mountain would bring some feeling of contentment and tinge of appreciation that nature is preserved at its best. The Southern Luzon State University research team headed by Dr. Francisco Beltran assessed the biodiversity of Mount Banahaw de Lucban from 2013 to 2015 towards plant and animal conservation. I led the team on Component 1, Vegetation. We established 2 permanent plots of 20 square meters and measured trees at least 10 centimeters in diameter at breast height. A 1 by 1 meter subplot was randomly distributed for understory assessment. The parameters that were gathered include species diversity, frequency of species, crown width and crown length, location and bearing of each species, soil and air temperature. Data analysis included computation for abundance, diversity, and evenness of plant species. For trees, there are 383 trees representing 28 families, such as Anacardiaceae, Apocynaceae, Amygdalaceae, Cletraceae, Euphorbiaceae, Ebenaceae, Fabaceae, Gutiferae or Clusiaceae, Lauraceae, Melastomataceae, Tiliaceae, Rutaceae, Rhamnaceae, Moraceae, Myrtaceae, Fagaceae, Teaceae, Timelaceae, Rubiaceae, Sapindaceae, Sapotaceae, Cyplocaceae, Urticaceae, Olacaceae, Winteraceae, Proteaceae, Ericaceae, and Borginaceae. At 900 meters above sea level, the highest diversity of trees was recorded using Shannon's formula with 28 species and 47 individuals with species evenness of 0.8243. The least diverse and low species evenness were found in 1,800 meters above sea level. Here are the list of categories of threatened trees identified in Mount Banahaw de Lucban, with a common name, scientific name, and category or status. For example, in the case of Alahan Puti or Gia discolor, the category or status of conservation is endangered. In the case of Kasaw-Kasaw, Gongrospermum philippinense, the conservation status is critically endangered. And if you are familiar with Nara, Pterocarpus indicus, the conservation status is critically endangered. There are other endangered and vulnerable species that were found during the assessment, such as in the case of alupag, igempugot, amugis, kuling manok, jade vine, and kapakapa. The understory species included vines and ferns, which were the most diverse and with the most even distribution of individuals per species. Species diversity is higher in ferns of 2.7, which is within the 1.5 to 4.5 middle value of diversity index. Shrubs had the greatest number of species observed, yet lowest in the evenness due to the distribution of individuals among species. Herbs, grasses, and palms have low diversity in the mountain. While grasses have the least number of species that occurred, since Mount Banahaw is moist and a closed forest in which they hardly grow, and this hardly allows sunlight penetration below ground that in turn do not favor occurrence of these undergrowths. Palms had the lowest species diversity, having a value of 1.19. The most dominant shrub species is Bagang Aso or Anaxagorea luzonensis. It is followed by Pandan Layugan or Pandanus exaltatus and Kapakapa or Medinilla magnifica. Shrubs are most diverse at elevations 1,000, 1,500, and 1,200 meters above sea level. For vines, highest diversity was observed at 1,400 and 1,000 meters above sea level with the highest species evenness, and the most dominant species is Cichtoria diffusa. The most dominant herb species is tagbak, and the species diversity of herbs ranged to very low to no diversity at all. Zero value for species diversity and evenness was attributed from single to no species found. For ferns, giant ferns, small ferns, and pakong buwaya were the most dominant species. They are most diverse at 1,100 and 1,800 meters above sea level with the most even distribution of individuals. The most dominant species of palms include limuran, palasan, and bunga. At 1,100 meters above sea level, the highest species diversity was recorded, while species evenness was highest at 1,000 meters above sea level. For grasses, arat or kugon, usiw, and itch grass were the most dominant species. Grasses in the mountain have very low diversity considering that other elevations had no single species occurring at 800 to 1,800 meters above sea level. Based on the study of Gascon in 2002, the understory plant species only comprise 23% in Mount Banahaw, while trees are 77%. The understory plant species are 19 species of vines, 15 species of palms, 39 species of ferns, and 15 species of grasses, and 358 species of trees were recorded. In addition, there are rare and endemic plant species found in Mount Banahaw. It includes pangnan of Podocarpaceae, tabu of Sterculiaceae, dungaw pula of Melastomataceae. For palms, it includes pugahan, ditaan, sumulid, tumalim, and palasan. For ferns, it includes Sphaerostephanus productus, pakong buwaya or tree fern, lagolo, kabkab or oak leaf fern, kilob, salagisog or golden fern. These are some important points in conducting plant assessment. 1. Take a photo of each plot. Record the geographic coordinates of each plot. And if plant species cannot be identified, get a sample specimen of the plant for identification of an expert using proper coding or naming of samples and take pictures of it. And only take samples that can serve as herbarium specimen. If you would like to monitor the plant species that were assessed during your study, you can also conduct focus group discussion among community members, field diary, photo documentation, and transect walk. So the transect method should only be established in areas where you are sure that your priority species are present. This presentation shows to you the importance of plants in terms of food for other wildlife species. For example, as adult and larval host plants of butterflies that was documented in Mount Banahaw de Mahaihai from September 2011 to May 2012. It includes the plants such as Justicia, Uvaria, sweet potato, bayabas-bayabasan, jade vine, sauko, malatungaw, nangka, upli, abaka, kurauraw, wild strawberry, kahoy dalaga, lukban, kamariyang gubat, hanopol, coronitas, and kandi-kandilaan. The study was conducted by Gastiada et al. In 2014. In addition to the study of Gastiada et al. In 2014 on butterfly species diversity and habitat heterogeneity across altitudinal gradients of Mount Banahaw de Mahaihai, Stroides rhodomanthus larval food plant, the Aristolochia species, a vine commonly occurring in both lowlands and uplands, which are easily affected by land use change. Harmful farm practices in Mount Banahaw de Mahaihai continuously threaten the survival of both T. rhodomanthus and Aristolochia species. Other vegetation studies conducted by Southern Luzon State University in Mount Banahaw de Lucban include the study of Barrera et al. In 2019 on the functional adaptations of Begonia exosperma and Begonia ramosi revealed through morphoanatomical analysis. In the abstract, the populations of begonia occur along the altitudinal gradients of Mount Banahaw de Lucban. Begonia ramosi populations occur at lower altitudes and are gradually replaced by Begonia oxysperma at higher elevations. This suggests the possibility of local adaptations and phenotypic localization. Populations of begonia were assessed and examined for phenotypic variability to provide information about habitat-driven characteristics and functional adaptations. Analysis of functional traits in 19 populations of B. oxysperma and 8 populations of B. ramosi using morphoanatomical techniques confirm this hypothesis. Phenolic vacuolar inclusions, anthocyanin pigmentation in young leaves and stems, presence of medullary vascular bundles and secondary growth, chlorophyll A concentration, trichome density in vegetative parts, and stomatal density were observed to vary either intraspecifically or interspecifically, which suggests functional adaptation. These preliminary results provide an interesting avenue for plant evolutionary and ecological studies using begonia as a model plant species. These figures show the variation in the degree of anthocyanin pigmentation of the stem of Begonia ramosi and Begonia oxysperma. And the bottom figure shows the fruit and seed of Begonia ramosi and Begonia oxysperma. I would like to share with you a project output of the research selection, characterization, and mapping of germplasm or plus or mother trees in Mount Banahaw de Lucban by yours truly, Forester Eraldine de Mailig and Forester Jenny Yacon. The study aims to select and characterize the plus and mother trees at northeastern slope of Mount Banahaw de Lucban in Barangay Ayuti, Lucban, Quezon, and vicinities. The study specifically aims to identify the plus tree species for the production of quality planting materials, to characterize and select plus trees in each elevation gradient as potential seed production areas, and lastly, to develop information, education, and communication materials that showcase the plus trees or mother trees existing in Mount Banahaw de Lucban. The study followed the Department Administrative Order of DNR 2010-11, the revised regulations governing forestry, seed and seedling production, collection, and disposition. So this was used as a guide in the assessment of trees where 9 tests are measured. For stem growth, Total height and diameter at breast height was obtained. For stem form, stem straightness, forkings, and circularity was gathered. Next is tree health. And for branching characteristics, the branch angle, the branch thickness, and persistence or pruning characteristics was also measured. 22 species of plus or mother trees with 61 individuals representing families identified and selected in Mount Banahaw de Lucban, and 4 species with 20 individuals representing 3 families were identified in Lucban vicinities, and one of which is Banahaw igem or Dacrycarpus cumingi from the family Podocarpaceae. It measures 8 to 25 meters in height with up to 18 to 75 centimeters in diameter. The leaves or primary shoots spread lightly, often curved so that the apex is directed inward slightly towards the axis. Its pollen cones are usually normal, but on one specimen from low elevation up to 4 centimeters long. The location is distributed from 1,100 meters above sea level to 1,800 meters above sea level. The conservation status based on Dow number 1 series of 2007 is least concern. However, very low population could lead to threatened status if conservation of the species is ignored. So this is Banahaw igem. Its estimated age is 20 years old with a height of 12 meters and a diameter plus from 15 to 19 centimeters. Based on the IUCN Red List, the conservation status is of least concern. On the Dow 2010-11 assessment, stem straightness is good, stem forking is good, stem circularity is good, the branch angle is good, but fair in branch thickness, pruning, and tree health. So we were able to map Banahaw igem on this location from 1,400 and 1,800 meters above sea level in Mount Banahaw de Lucban. Next is Kasaw-kasaw or Gongbraspermum philippinense from the family Sapindaceae. It is an endemic species in Mount Banahaw de Lucban, a single species that is under the genus Gongbraspermum. The conservation status of this species is critically endangered in Dow number 1 series of 2007. This species is facing different threats such as forest cover and forest ecosystem diversity reduction and degradation, urbanization, and habitat fragmentation. There are only 2 completed researches on this species by Gutierrez et al. In 2017 and Esmas in 2017. So this is Kasaw-kasaw with estimated age of 19 years, a height of 11 meters, and a diameter class from 20 to 24 centimeters. For stem straightness, it is good. For stem forking, it is fair. For stem circularity, it is good and fair in branch angle, thickness, and pruning, as well as in tree health. So this is a map locating the plus trees of Kasaw-kasaw. The next tree species is Macaasim or Syzygium nitidum from the family Myrtaceae. It is a dominant species in Mount Banahaw de Lucban as revealed in vegetation analysis and biodiversity assessment studies in the different elevations of the mountain. It can reach up to 25 meters in height and a diameter of 60 meters. It is usually found in well-drained forests from low to middle altitude or up to 1,300 meters above sea level. It has a fully developed deep and wide-spreading crown. The location of these 3 species thrives mostly at high altitudes, indicating that there was wide variation of species in the area. Its conservation status is critically endangered, and it is listed under Dow number 1 series of 2007. There has been a lot of researches conducted by Gutierrez et al., by Zoleta in 2017, by Villafranca in 2016, Apon in 2015, and Pascual in 2015. So this is a picture of the tree in that mountain, an estimated age of 10 years with a height of 14 meters, with a diameter class of 15 to 19 centimeters, and it is, as I've said a while ago, it is critically endangered. It has good stem straightness, forking, circularity, angle, branch angle, thickness, branch pruning, and tree health. So we were able also to map the plastries of these species. The next species that I will highlight in that study is Malak-Malak or Palacium philippinense from the family Sapotacea. It is a medium to large tree, and the location is common in primary at low and medium altitudes with a threatened conservation status as listed in Down number 1 series of 2007. This is a picture of a 27-year-old kasaw-kasaw with a height of 12 meters and a diameter class of 40 to 44 centimeters. In terms of stem straightness, forking, and circularity, it is good. For branch angle, it is fair. For branch thickness, it is good. For branch pruning, it is fair with a tree health that is good. So these are the other plastries or mother trees that have been documented, such as Lipoteng Gubat, Gisok-Gisok, Bigos Silangan, Kalantas, Kupang, Malak-Malak Bundok, Malaruhat, Ulayan, Kamuling, Lahas, White Lawaan, Nara, Palakpalak, and Paguringon. In addition to studies on native trees in Mount Banahaw, Southern Luzon State University conducted the optimized conditions for the amplification of the RBCL gene for DNA barcoding of two important forestry species indigenous in Mount Banahaw de Lucban. As biodiversity studies in Mount Banahaw de Lucban show high species richness and endemicity, but some are vulnerable and endangered based on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species and DNR Administrative Order No. 11 Series of 2017. SLSU, with the assistance of the University of the Philippines Los Baños, through its clonal forestry nursery, aims to generate and promote S&T interventions in the production and conservation of threatened forest trees. Molecular characterization was conducted to optimize the PCR conditions for the DNA barcoding of Litsea latensis or baticuling and Cicidium nitidum or macaasim using the RBCL gene. Plant tissues of the species were collected in Laguna and Quezon. DNA extraction was performed using the modified CTAB method. PCR conditions for amplifying the RBCL region in both species were attained by adjusting the number of cycles and annealing temperature, and generation of DNA sequences for DNA barcoding was attained. In macaasim, the average length of relatively good sequences generated using Sanger method is 600 BP, while baticuling has 600 to 800 BP. No significant sequence variation was detected for all individuals, and this confirmed high genetic similarities within species. This study of providing DNA barcodes would lessen the chance to propagate misidentified baticuling and macaasim trees, thus offers robust taxonomic identification of the species. The following figures shows the PCR products of macaasim and baticuling samples with 10 UL and 40 UL reaction volume. While the generation of DNA sequences for DNA barcoding was attained with relative ease, another barcoding gene such as the Maturase K or MATK should be optimized and sequenced for the two species. The forest is an association of plants and other wildlife species. Nowadays, multiple environmental and cultural human activities cause fast pace of forest destruction. In order to retrieve the several benefits derived from the forest, reforestation has been one of the strategies to recover the lost resources, and seedlings are the basic requirement in the rehabilitation of denuded sites. From the time the seeds are sown in the nursery until the seedlings are ready for transport to reforestation sites, the seedlings must be taken care of scientifically to produce healthy plants with high percentage of survival when outplanted. However, seed availability and quality limits the production of planting materials. So, we focus on native trees. What are native trees? They are significant in the web of life. They are the basis of our natural ecosystems. They are more resilient than any other tree species. They are commonly used in local reforestation programs. They comprise more than 60% of reported plantation forests in Asia. They are non-invasive, well-adjusted to the ecosystem, and it is accepted by local communities. We have a lot of native trees that can be found not only in Mount Banahaw but also in the Quezon National Park in Atimonan and Pagbilao and in other municipalities of Quezon Province. Examples of these are Nato, Bagtikan, Malapapaya, Nara, White Lawaan, Molave, Akle, Dita, Binayuyu, Camagong, Igyo, and Tibig. So the production of quality planting materials through clonal nurseries and vegetative propagation techniques are essential in order to sustain our native trees and in support of our national greening program. Thus, the government through the DNR promotes the use of high-quality planting materials in the establishment of tree plantations and other forestation activities. In the Philippine Master Plan for Climate Resilient Forestry Development from 2016 to 2028, it encourages the use of resilient native tree species in reforestation of critical watersheds, protected areas, and agroforestry sites. It also encouraged the planting of native species that are fast-growing in production forests based on site and marketability. It also prescribes the planting of indigenous, native, and/or endemic species in protection zones. The clonal propagation technology is being promoted by the DNR Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, in which the Southern Luzon State University was able to adopt it in producing quality planting materials for tree planting and other tree growing activities. They were funded by the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic, and Natural Resources Research and Development in order to conduct several researches. And also, the researches conducted by SLSU on clonal propagation technology is now being adopted by the local government unit of Paite, Laguna. So clonal propagation starts with the selection of mother trees, the establishment of hedge garden, the collection of stem cuttings, the application of rooting hormone, the planting in rooting beds, the transplanting of rooted cuttings, the recovery and hardening of clones, and the cycle goes again. As a product of clonal propagation technology, Southern Luzon State University was able to develop a protocol for baticuling or Litsea latensis from the family Lauraceae. This species is being used by the artists and artisans of Paite who are known wood carvers of spiritual statues and other embellishments. SLSU was able to conduct trainings, seminars, and demonstrations to farmers, youth, nursery staff, and other stakeholders of Paite, Laguna in order to educate them and train them on how to increase the number of baticuling trees in their area, as well as to ensure that the supply of wood for carving will be abundant in the future. So why do we have to promote the use of native trees in any tree tree planting or tree growing initiatives in order to reforest or enrich our mountains. It is because they provide goods and ecological services simultaneously. They are important to protect site-scale conservation measures. They can improve reforestation success. They provide a significantly higher richness of animal and regenerating wind-dispersed species. They are also important to the global recognition in ecosystem restoration. They have high survival rates and satisfactory growth. They are essential in the rehabilitation and conservation of key biodiversity areas, and they could also increase forest recovery and reconnect remnant forests. So here are some of the seedlings of native forestry species at Southern Luzon State University, a National Greening Program, Clonal Forestry Nursery in Lucban, Quezon. So this is Bagtikan. Next is Camagong, Tibig, Molave, Narig, Mindanao, Palos Sapis, Tangile, Malabayabas, Malagaitom, Batikuling, Yakal Malibato, Apitong, Lamog, Almasiga, Yakal, Talisay Gubat, Gisok-Gisok, So apart from knowing our native plant or tree species in Mount Banahaw, I would like you to also be familiar with our Philippine native trees. So you can read these books, the Philippine Native Trees 101, 202, and 303, because the writers here has an up-close and personal experience of our native tree species. Also, there is a children's book on native trees in the case of Dita, Dapdap, and Patalsik Pula, among others. So try to grab a copy of these books. For more information on the flora of the Philippines, you can also visit the website of COS Digital Flora of the Philippines. So this is an illustrated checklist as a continuation of the works of Elmer D. Merrill and Leonard Coe, who are the authorities on the Philippine vascular plants. So this picture is me with the Rafflesia species in Mount Banahaw de Dolores. So in summary, results of various researches that were conducted in Mount Banahaw San Cristobal Protected Landscape become significant guides or bases of its stakeholders in formulating conservation initiatives for monitoring and evaluation of life within the area and in determination of the changes that are taking place. So Southern Luzon State University is really exerting its effort to conserve not only the plant and animal species but the entire mountain. And SLSU promotes forestry species conservation with various ecological and economic advantages like our native tree species that are essential in the greening initiatives of the Philippine government. To end this presentation, I would like to quote my most favorite people, such as Imelda P. Sarmiento in Philippine Native Trees 202, that together we hope to see the day when our native trees and other native flora become the weeds of our country by their sheer number and persistence. And by the late Leonard Legaspi saying that there is a greater need to immortalize the plants. For the advancement of botany, for the welfare of the students of the university, and the nation as a whole. And as for me, the success of species conservation also considers the local communities, including you, as stewards of our vulnerable ecosystem. May we all become wise stewards of our environment, not only today, but in every day. Muli, magandang hapon!
Thank you, Ma'am Katrina Gutierrez, for your presentation. We are gratified that you took time to communicate with us and for sending us such an insightful message about the localized plant profiling. There are different plants that are named after places in Quezon province. There are 388 trees representing 28 families, and there are also different categories of plant species such as endangered, vulnerable, and critically endangered. There are different plant species diversity in the Mount Banahaw, and when we look deeply to the different plant profile studies, researches, and articles that displays the different plant species, its characteristic and plant, we can say that the role of plant in the biodiversity is engrossing. To give my insight about this talk, it is important to maintain rare and endangered species to maintain its less and current population. All right. Um, Before we proceed to the question and answer portion, uh, let us, with our speaker, please answer the evaluation form that is pinned in the comments section. All right. Please answer the evaluation form that is pinned in the comments section, please. Sige po. All right, let us proceed to the question and answer portion. Question and answer session with our speaker, where our viewers and listeners can ask questions. I'd like to invite everyone to join our open forum by simply typing their questions or observations. The first question is, from grade 7 student, why is there a scientific name if there's already a normal name for a plant?
Okay, good afternoon to this grade 7 student. That is why scientific name is utilized in order to avoid confusion in identifying our plant species. Because if we are going to use only the normal name, there are a lot of what we say local or vernacular names for a particular species. So we have to use scientific name in the case of Latin word because the Latin name is already a language that will no longer transform, change, or develop in the future. So that is why ginagamit po natin itong scientific name.
Thank you. Yes, I agree to that, ma'am. And then the second question is there any possibilities that there are still plant species that are not yet discovered in Mount Banahaw?
Yes, there is a very, very big possibility that there are still plants that are not discovered or plant species that are not yet discovered in Mount Banahaw. But that is also not only true to Mount Banahaw but the entire Philippines. Actually, very few species pa lang po yung na-identify ng ating mga experts at kasabay nito ay yung pagkawala din na o di kaya ay pagkaubos na din ng mga plants na ito. Maaring yung ibang mga halaman na hindi na-identify ay wala na ngayon. Kaya mahalaga na ginagawa natin yung diversity assessment o di kaya yung plant assessment para ma-monitor po natin kung ang ating mga halaman ay dumadami or nagbabago o di kaya ay may kinalaman po yung ating mga tinatawag na exotic or invasive plant species sa kanilang pagkawala o di kaya ay pagkaubos.
Thank you po, ma'am. So guys, diversity assessment is a must kasi nagbabago yung biodiversity sa place. Yon. Okay, the next question is, how do the rare and localized plants protected during national disasters such as an earthquake and storms po?
Okay. So itong ating mga rare local plants o di kaya yung ating mga endemic plants sa ating mga lugar, very important yan sila in cases of natural calamities. Why? Because our plants or our tree species have already adapted themselves in such catastrophic events. So makikita po ninyo na katulad po ng Nara, hindi po basta-basta yan nabubuwal. Bakit po? Kasi siya po ay well-adapted or well-suited na doon sa kanyang environment kahit gaano kalakas yung ulan o di kaya bagyo o hangin, hindi ba? So, napaka-importante na ang itatanim din natin sa ating mga lugar ay yung mga local o di kaya mga species na doon lamang natin makikita o doon din natin matatagpuan. Kasi po, kung ibang halaman ang itatanim natin sa ibang lugar, kunwari nanggaling siya sa Quezon, tapos itatanim po natin kunwari doon sa Mindanao, maaring hindi po siya mag-a-adapt doon sa Mindanao at most likely made-distract mo po siya o di kaya ay masisira. So, importante din na yung adaptability or yung suitability ng halaman ay nandoon sa kanyang specific na site or lugar.
Thank you po. Nasagot niyo po yung tanong ng ating student. The next question is, can we clone an endangered species?
Yes, we can. Oo. But then, I have to caution you in cloning ha. Kasi in cloning, we only apply this for our plant species that are rare to flower, yung mahirap mamulaklak, mahirap mamunga, o di kaya it will take them time in order to flower or produce fruits. So yun lamang po yung ating kino-clone. Pero sa pagko-clone po natin, we have to take note of some policies katulad po nung DAO 2010-11 kasi meron po tayong dapat susundin na pamantayan. Hindi po basta magko-clone kasi kunwari ang iko-clone po nating halaman o di kaya puno ay maraming sakit, ay di pinarami din po natin yung sakit. Ganun po yun ang pagko-clone. So dapat ang iko-clone natin ay yung may magagandang katangian. Maganda ang tayo, maganda ang kalusugan, yung kanyang health. Okay? So lahat po yun ay i-consider natin bago po tayo magko-clone. Maganda yung kanyang genotypic at the same time yung kanyang phenotypic characteristics. Okay?
There are really a lot to consider when we try to clone a endangered species po. So yan, we have the fifth question. Are the preservation done for every endangered plants the same? And are there any health benefits from these endangered plants?
There are for endangered species there are varied approaches in order to preserve them. But in the case of trees, we can also do some cloning for that matter. For other plants, I'm not sure how they are being preserved, but there are some na ginagawa din po yung maliban dun sa vegetative propagation, ang ginagawa naman po sa kanya ay sa pamamagitan po ng tissue culture. Ibig sabihin ay kumukuha po tayo ng kapirasong bahagi po nung halaman, tapos saka po natin siya pinararami sa laboratory. Ganun po siya. So, maraming pamamaraan in which we can preserve them, and one of the best ways in order to preserve them is to propagate them in plant nurseries or tree nurseries. Yun yung isa sa pinakamagandang approach na pwede natin gawin. And the other question is, are there any health benefits? Yes, there are health benefits since they are given to us here on Earth. Ibig sabihin po, they are not just there as decorations. They have a role or something to play in our health or in the environment. Just as the youth, di ba? So we are not here only just to listen, but you have something to do also. Yun.
Thank you po. Last question. As students, how can we help in protecting plants that are endangered?
Okay, very simple po. If you would like to protect the plants that you think or that are already identified as endangered, one is do not collect them if they are in the wild. Huwag nyo na po silang bawasan pa kung sila ay kakaunti na po sa wild. And second is, if you would like to propagate them, take good care of them, then better yet, gawin nyo siya doon sa lugar kung saan po siya nararapat tumubo. At wag po natin siyang ikikip sa ating mga bahay bilang mga house plants. Yun po.
Yeah, yes, students. I hope Miss Katrina have answered all of your questions. Thank you po sa pagsagot ng mga tanong ng aming students. Miss Katrina, I just want to ask you if you have a last message for all the youth that are watching us today before we proceed. And do you want to promote something po?
Ma'am, nakamute na po.
Yes. To the youth po, the most important thing that you can do now is to educate yourself, okay? Educate yourselves about the environment, about our plants, our wildlife species, about the animals, because you should take the advantage of the social media platform that we have now kasi ang dami pong information na pwede nyo pong makuha. So, continue learning and just focus yourself on what you love. Okay, yun yung isa din sa importante nyong kailangan gawin. If you love nature, then go for it. And we are one with you. And then, I would like to also promote our BS Forestry courses and environmental science courses in Southern Luzon State University. So please enroll in our or be admitted in SLSU for these courses because this will really contribute a lot po sa ating environment, sa pagmamanage ng ating environment para po mas marami tayo na warriors or stewards of our environment na we are equipped or educated about how to protect and conserve it.
Thank you po sa maganda niyo pong message, nakaka-touch po. And also, thank you po sa pag-invite sa amin bilang student to enroll to the BS Forestry course and to probably help us in the now or in the future. So after that, we will now continue to the awarding of the certificates by handing you to Mr. Wendell R. Mayor to award the certificate.
So thank you very much, ma'am. So before I award the certificate to Madam Katrina Gutierrez, so I would like to take this opportunity po para kayo po ay pasalamatan virtually. So virtual clap po para kay ma'am. So thank you very much po sa pag-share ng knowledge all about plants, specifically yung mga plants natin na matatagpuan sa Mount Banahaw. So indeed, so ako, first time ko lang din tong mga na-encounter at naka-amaze. So, lalong-lalo na ngayon ng pandemic, usong-uso yung mga plantito-plantita natin. Pero malay natin na yung ating palang mga naalagaan ng halaman sa bahay ay endangered na pala. So, pwede natin silang siguro i-turn over sa sa mga authorities na kagaya ng DENR. And I am hoping na isa sa mga viewers natin, so hindi lamang isa or sana marami sa ating mga viewers ang maging warrior or mag-enroll sa BS Forestry ng Southern Luzon State University. So thank you very much po, ma'ams. And to awards the certificate to our last resource speaker. So let me first read the citation. Republic of the Philippines, Department of Education, Region 4A, Calabarzon, Province of Quezon, City Schools Division of Tayabas, Luis Palad Integrated High School, City of Tayabas, awards this certificate of recognition to Katrina G. Engay Gutierrez in grateful acknowledgement of her invaluable service as resource speaker during the Youth Environmental Forum entitled #Youth for Environment Unlocking Advocacies for Biodiversity as part of the 2021 Science Month celebration with the theme Revisiting the Past, Reinventing the Future, Enabling Science Education, given this 24th day of September 2021 at Luis Palad Integrated High School, Barangay Ipilan, Tayabas City. Signed by Marvin J. Rosales, Head Teacher 3, Science Department, and signed by Dr. Henercy de los Reyes, Secondary School Principal 4. So muli, maraming salamat po, Madam Katrina G. and Guy Gutierrez.
Thank you very much po.
Thank you to everyone who participated today. The judging for the finalists of the entries of digital poster is still ongoing, so please wait until the announcement. Now we are all inviting you to our next week's program on September 28 to 30, the virtual Science Camp program. Science for the people getting towards the new normal in times of pandemic, which will be streamed on our YouTube channel Agham Alam Hub. Again, kindly like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more science activities and video lesson. The judging for the finalists of the evaluation will be pinned on the comment section, so please answer the evaluation that will be pinned in the comment section. Yes. Okay, our program for today has come to an end. I hope you all had a good time and learned something new virtually. Thank you for making our Science Club Month Celebration 2021 the Youth Environmental Forum #Youth for Environment Unlocking Advocacy for Biodiversity interesting and memorable. Keep yourself safe